So I'm going to re-record this to leave out all the conversation in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Let me know when you got it open on your computer.
All right, loading.
Okay. Timer.
Okay, it's up.
All right, so let me just make sure I have everything set correct. You can share all participants. Okay, so what you do is you go to that green share button and hit that. Oh, good. There you go. You figured it out.
Okay.
So, and you can still put it in like the presentation mode, and that will be full screen for us. We won't see like all the slides on the side.
Do I just hit view and presentation?
Yep.
View.
I guess. Let me see.
Yeah.
It's no, not view. It should be oh, it's at the bottom.
Okay.
See where the four squares are to the right of that was like a little, looks like a screen.
Oh. All right, hold on. Go back.
So it's still down there. Yeah. Go.
This one? Like where it looks like it's edit. No, that says editing view. Slideshow?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And when you're ready to go, I will start the timer.
Okay. All right, I'm ready. All right, good morning. My name is Alicia Dutz, and I'm going to be talking about in the life of a single mother. The first thing that I'll be talking about is how being a single mom has changed who I am. The first point is how I felt and how the world for me, the moment I had my son, changed. I knew from that moment how important I have become to him and that I would be making many important decisions. I have to maintain a good job, take care of finances, and take care of my son on a daily basis. As I see my son's future, I realize how big of a role I will play in his life. Okay, well, that's Ryder when he was a little baby. And that was his, like, these are just some of the things that I appreciated and was able to experience some of his firsts. Over here, this was his first day of kindergarten. And this, where he's wearing a little little Rudolph nose, is his first play that I was able to attend. Okay, the second point is I had to become more independent and take on important responsibilities. Critical decision making is difficult as I am on my own and I don't have someone to discuss things with. It's easy to question my choices. I must make decisions daily, which I never had to do before. Okay, and these are basically everything I do is for my son. I mean, I make sure I put him first for everything, and I make sure that oops, I need to go back. How do I go back?
Right click and then it'll say previous.
Oh, okay. I make sure that he lives the best life he can and experiences a lot of things. I, joined him up for karate. I take him every summer. I take him peach picking and all kinds of fruits and vegetable picking. I like taking him crabbing. And we even my mother and I took him to Cancun, and he was swimming with dolphins. We spend a lot of time together. He is he's the light of my life, and I just want the best for him. The third point, my final point, is how to choose between being Alicia or mom. That choice came very easy to me. It's simple. I just will not sacrifice time with my son for social time. I love my son. I love being with my son, and we have an incredible bond. In the end, my schedule is busy, my day is long, but I love being a single mom, and I love seeing my son's smiling face. So that is it, and this is us, and this is I just got him a new puppy for Christmas, and his name is Scotch, and if anybody wants him, let me know. And thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, all right, well then.
I do. How long have you been a single mother?
Since the moment he was born.
I am sorry, but it looks like you do a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you. You don't have to be sorry for that.
Yeah, why are you sorry about that?
I am sorry that you've had to do it alone since the beginning.
Oh yeah, it's hard. It's not easy. There's times that I feel bad for him because I want him to have more. I feel like because I am a single mother, I feel like I have to overcompensate, and I might do a little bit too much, and he may be a little spoiled.
I completely understand. I kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
His father exactly in the picture for me, so I understand. It's rough, but it's rewarding.
It is. It is.
All right, well, thank you. You got it out of the way now, and I can give you credit for that.
Okay. So what do I do now?
I stopped
Unshare?
it. I already stopped it.
Oh, okay, cool.
I have the power.
All right.
Okay, so what I wanted you to do to prepare for today was to have gone through this article one more time, and there we go. To go through the article one more time, and then I wanted just to go through some basic questions. For instance, I wanted to look at what you think the author's purpose was, and then we wanted to look at the organizational structure. How did the author organize his piece, and possibly talk about audience. For whom do you think he wrote this? Now, there are some little nuances that will help you figure some things out. I'll point those out to you. So when looking at articles, and there we go, you want to look at everything. And so one thing that I would always kind of look at, and this is, I don't know why I have it so thick, but is one might not think about that at first, to think that that's really important, but seeing that is actually quite important. And I can't probably, there we go. Ugh. All right, so I'm gonna clear that now because I can't, it'll be stupid if I go down. And then if you go down to the end, again, we have basically the same information. There we go. Okay. And there's a little teeny tiny blurb about the author, which obviously we can use when we're trying to talk about whether or not the author is credible. Who's coming? Let me remove that. Gotta hurry up or she's gonna clear all drawings. This. There. Oh shoot. Admit. Okay. That should have been okay. All right. So, what is an op-ed?
Yes.
You're in.
Finally. I've been trying since like 10 of 9. Just know what's going on.
Just not liking you lately. So we're looking at the article for this final essay. I'm going to pull some pieces out of it to help you kind of to streamline this for you and not give you the answers, but kind of force the answers on you so that you'll get it right.
Okay,
So,
I read it.
You read it, good. All right. So one of the things was author's purpose. And so what I'm trying to point out is there is some information always on these things that you really should look at, even though you don't necessarily, you would skip over it. You wouldn't think it's important. But here at the top, we have opinion. It says opinion pages. And op-ed contributor. Does anybody know what an op-ed is?
Mm-mm.
Then it's kind of good that we're doing that. So op-ed is an opinion editorial. An opinion editorial. And that actually gives you some really important information. So if this is an opinion piece, what do you think most likely is the purpose? And why?
To persuade.
All right, so we have the 3 possibilities are persuade, inform, and entertain. Okay, so Amber, why would you say persuade?
Because usually when someone gives their opinion, it's to convince something of something.
Okay, so generally speaking, when you're going to give your opinion, right, it's a one-sided opinion. You know, do you like the chicken or the beef? Well, you don't usually say, I like both. Okay, you generally pick one side. All right, so like this already kind of tells you that the purpose is most likely to persuade because it's an opinion piece. And if you've read the article, you will see that it's pretty much one-sided. You know, they might mention another side a little bit, but it's pretty one-sided and very straight and clear what he is, you know, wanting to do. So remember, the other clue for trying to figure out a purpose is if it is to inform, you usually show both sides equally, and you don't want anything from the reader. You want the reader just to have that information and to do with it what they want. You know, it's nice to know, here it is, done.
What do you mean by both sides?
So,
Both sides.
let me give you a different example, not using this article. If we were taking the article about the happiness and the wealth, right? And we said, money really does buy happiness and people are happy with things, but there are also people that are, you know, quite happy with the experiences. And it's 50-50. Half the people in the world like the one, half the people in the world like the other. There you go. So there you're presenting this. We're we're only just saying, here's the information. Half the people like this side, half the people like that side. And you're not trying to get anything done other than telling people about it. And that's to inform. But if you were to look at that article, it really does lean towards what the author feels, the author's bias and the author's worldview. And the author's bias and the worldview, for those if you didn't turn it in, is more in the idea that experiences give you more happiness than the actual thing itself. Okay? Now, he does mention a little bit that some people, are okay with, materialistic things, but he is trying to convince you otherwise. He's trying to persuade you that, hey, you know what? Experiences are better. So it's more of a one-sided argument. And what he's actually trying to do is to change people's thoughts and go, all right, well, maybe we shouldn't be so materialistic anymore. Maybe we should look into the experiences. And he made one good point, which I still love this point because it really fits my life perfectly, a perfect example of it, where he said, if you go on vacation, you buy something on vacation, that will bring a memory to you. So it's, even though it's a thing, it's associated with an experience. And that's what happened when I went to Vegas. May have told that before. And I got that Louis Vuitton wallet. So I've always wanted Louis Vuitton. I know they're super expensive. It was like a $570 wallet. And I had the money because the money was there to spend in the slot machines. But, at one point I was like, this is stupid. I'm putting money in the machines. I'm not winning anything. It's all going out the window. So let me just buy this wallet that I've always wanted to have. And now I still have the wallet. So even though I have the thing, I also have the memory of, oh, well, that came from Vegas and I got it on my last day. And I went to the mall right next door to the hotel. And so that whole experience is more important really than just having the wallet itself. All right. And that's kind of the point he makes. So in this particular article, what's the main idea? Tell me the main idea of this article, maybe in like one sentence.
That students
I was thinking like with the interns, the unpaid interns, just like how they're like the disadvantages of being one, I guess.
Okay, so we could do something to the effect of
yeah, I was gonna say that they don't get a lot of benefits from it.
let's do another thing. Let's combine, you're both right. Let's take it one little step further. Look at the title. We have two parts to the title. We have unpaid interns and we have complicit colleges. So let's see if
universities.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Colleges and universities benefit more than students from unpaid internships.
Okay, so we'll do something to the effect that would be pretty much the main idea, and he's a little harsher in this because the word complicit is pretty harsh. We'll come back to the vocabulary later, but it could be something to the effect that colleges and universities are exploiting colleges and universities, along with businesses, are exploiting student interns. I mean, that's the whole gist of it. He's putting a blame on two things, but mostly he's blaming colleges because that's what it says in the title. So we're talking about unpaid interns and complicit colleges. So we got to have that link there. In other words, he's quite critical of what colleges and universities are doing to their students. And he says it's not right. So very clearly, if you look at, again, the title, you look at the main idea, ultimately, what does he want to happen? What does he want people to come away with? Does he want people to come away with going, huh, okay, well, that's nice to know, and do nothing? Or does he want people to actually change something?
Want something to be changed.
Okay, so if you want something to be changed, that's a perfect example of to persuade. Because when you are persuading, you are getting people to change something, change their habits, change their behavior, but to change something. So the purpose of this article is to persuade. That's the answer. You got it. Now the question is, who does he want to change? So we want to identify the audience. Who did he write this article for?
I went back and forth on that a lot.
And you can go back and forth, and there's probably more than one answer.
I wrote colleges. Where is it? Is aimed towards colleges and interns,
Colleges and
internship.
Yeah.
I would say I kind of like the colleges thing because they're the ones doing the bad stuff, right? So he probably wants them to stop doing the bad stuff. Interns, maybe. Probably not as strong. Like if they're the ones being exploited, they already know this. What can they really do? What could they really do? Well, maybe they could stand up for their own rights, but most students won't. You know, students think that this is okay, that this is the normal thing. We have to do an internship. And even, you know, even our college does, bless you,
Bless you.
does offer internships, and they're, you know, unpaid. Who else might be? He does provide, at the end, he provides some solutions to this problem. So
The businesses that
absolutely. The businesses that actually use interns, and he's like, well, you know, one solution would be to go to school part-time and then to have paid work part-time and to have like 50-50 split between the classroom, and we know that doesn't usually happen. You know, businesses love having free labor. And it's sad because you're paying the tuition for that. And that's why he said, you know, it actually, you're paying actually to work for someone for free. All right. So, you know, audience, it could be any of those. It's probably mostly geared towards colleges and universities. Who in particular in colleges and universities? So we can drill down and kind of come a little bit more specific.
I guess more of the administration.
Why?
Why? Because it's not, I mean, so I don't know much about college, but I'm going to say it's not really the teachers that make the final decision to have an internship as accredited, go for lesser words, experience. So that's more above a teacher's pay grade. So it's more like the dean, the board?
Okay, so it's definitely administrators because and I'm gonna take what you said, Amber, because you said it nicely, but I'm gonna give you the word that's kind of missing. The administration sets policy. Okay, you're right.
Administration.
Instructors do not set the policy. We don't make the rules, but the administration makes the rules. And the administration is probably everyone from the president, campus director, maybe the department heads are sometimes in with this, but they don't make policy, they talk about it. So yeah, I would say it's administrators, college administrators, number one. Then businesses, because he's kind of telling people, hey, come on, don't you're using these people, you're using these students. That's not fair. Why don't you pay them? And then ultimately, yes, maybe the students themselves. But unfortunately, they're in a position that they have very little that they could do. It's like, going back to slavery in the United States, it was the system and the laws that allowed it. The slaves really, you can tell them about it, but they really didn't have a whole lot that they could do, right? They're not in that position. And I'm not trying to equate students to slaves. So that's probably a bad analogy, but students themselves aren't really in much of a position to do much. If you say, no, I'm not going to do that internship, well, okay, it's fine. We'll take the next person. Guess what? You're not going to graduate because you haven't, fulfilled that requirement.
I actually read an article by him last night.
You are just a little busy bee here. Cool. All right, so we have audience, we have purpose. The other thing I wanted to kind of go over, have you look at was organizational structure. How does he organize this? And it's pretty easy. I think it's pretty easy. Let me go here.
That was.
All right, so where's my whiteboard? I'm going to clear that, clear drawings.
Tell me it's cause and effect.
Cause and effect, you think?
I don't know.
So remember, when we're talking about organizational structure, it could be several things. Oh, look, Sharonda has somebody there. Is that your daughter?
Yes, the baby.
The baby. You're not that baby. Don't say that to her.
Yes.
How are you?
My teacher said hi.
Okay, so we have organizational structure. So Amber's saying possibly cause and effect. Does anybody think of it? There might be another one.
Example?
You actually can't miss that one, right?
Yeah.
And that's it, folks. It's cause and effect, and it's example. Those are your two organizational structures. Yes, you are. Now, which one is more? Which one do you think is more the main one?
I'm gonna go with cause and effect, even though he does throw in because there's only a couple examples throughout his paper.
Yeah, but the examples are like the most important things because that's how he's convincing you is using these examples. And the cause and effect is actually part of the examples. Okay, so when he talks about the first example of the first guy, Will Batson,
Yes.
right? Will Batson is an example, but then he tells you what effect did this have on Will Batson? That he actually felt, what were the words? It hurt his confidence. So what you want to do in your paper then is not only are you going to identify, so that's the first thing, you always identify the whatever, in this case it's the organizational structure, or you would identify the language, or you would identify the evidence. So number one, identify. Number two, prove it. Okay, so this is where you would give an example. So how would it look in the paper? The author uses a mixed organizational structure of example and cause and effect. That would be my topic sentence. And then you go on then to explain that. So you use your own words. So I'm just giving you some examples, and you can eventually use this if you want. It doesn't matter. But I want to just kind of show you, it's not only quote, 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 quote. You got to have your own stuff in there. So the author uses a mixed organizational structure of example and cause and effect. He mostly uses examples to illustrate the hardships unpaid internships have on students. One such example is the story of Will Batson. Now, Will Batson is not your idea, right? So Will Batson comes from the text. Here we need a citation, all right? So this is a perfect example. This is your own words, but we need to show that Will Batson is from the text. So in this case, it's an indirect quote. You're going to have the author's name, Berlin, 2011, and then a period. Now you could hold off. You could hold off on this because if your next couple sentences are going to maybe explain a little bit about Batson. Like it's not enough just to say, well, he uses the example of Will Batson. We have to know who was Will Batson and what did he do. So I would probably give a couple sentences saying Batson worked for was in an internship for MSNBC and lived in New York. And Perlin, 2011, describes that let's see here, how can I do this? Save. Save that to photos, and I'm going to continue. Ah, good. Okay, so it works on how to do that. All right, so if we were to then continue, okay. So we don't need another citation because I already said at the beginning of the sentence, Perlin. Perlin 2011 writes about. So that's very clear. This is not you. This is in the article itself, and you're citing the author Perlin. Okay. So what you did, what we just did was, oh crap. Okay. You first then identified it. You then showed the specific example. And now you offered a little bit of an explanation about the example using information from the text. So now you can have a little bit about you again. You can put your own little take in this. Okay.
When you say put our own piece on it, that's our opinion about that piece of the writing.
Well, yeah. So look, this here, Sharonda, is. That here is not from the text. That's your words. But you see, you're not saying I. But this is your opinion. You're saying, in your opinion, the author's trying to convince. So if I were to write that, I could say, I think the author is trying to convince the reader of the negative side effects of unpaid internships, right? But you're just taking out the word I think. It's the same thing. It's still your personal opinion. You might be wrong. You might be wrong. That if it was to entertain, okay, you got it wrong because this is your opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, you understand that? So like I hate to tell people to do this, but I'll mention it, but don't listen to it really carefully. If you were to put I in there, and like in my opinion, blah blah blah, then go back and remove all of those and make those neutral sentences without I or in my opinion. But I'd rather not do that because if one slips through, then you'll lose the points.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I don't want you to go is quote, 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 quote. Okay. I need to see your thoughts in here. And this one definitely has your thoughts.
So is that similar to how we just did the last paper? Because I think that's how I did my last.
No, the last paper you were allowed to put I in there.
Oh, okay. No eyes.
Yeah, there's no I. There's no first person in this paper.
In like the setup, like I know in my paper I did like a quote and then my thoughts or opinion, and then I did the I think the supporting or the second
Right.
reference.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Setup, like
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is a similar setup. Yes, because remember you have 4 sections. One section is organizational structure. But look at this. That's quite a lot when you look at that. Okay. We've already written a pretty good paragraph. And that's just one example. We haven't even talked about cause and effect. So if you were going to organize this, rather than have one gigantic mega paragraph, I would probably break this into multiple paragraphs. Okay, so now we're going beyond 6 paragraphs. Now we have 7. Because I probably would have a paragraph on oh gosh, yeah, I just drew a blank. Examples. Jesus. I'm getting too old for this job. So
believe that.
we already have one example in there. I would probably show another example, okay, because he does give another example, and do the same thing. Kind of, we bring this in. You don't have to make a topic sentence because the whole paragraph is about organizational structure. All right, and then when you go to show cause and effect, you could make another paragraph, or because he uses cause and effect with Will Batson, we can somehow up here,
lady.
right there, add
Am I going or are you going? There.
okay. So you could do something to the effect there. So you don't have to make a whole separate paragraph on cause and effect, but Will Batson, not only is he an example, we see the effect is that he's bad. And then you want to give the example. You want to give the example of that he hurt his confidence. You don't have to use a direct quote. You can put it in your own words, or you can use a direct quote. But if you're using direct quotes, remember you have to count paragraph numbers. So he kind of does the two things hand in hand. He shows the example, but then he also shows how it really was devastating to the people. And it broke them down and hurt their confidence, etc. So you don't have to do a whole, I would probably make it, like one paragraph. Now, if it's going to be super long, you can make the second example its own paragraph then. Because this is going to get really long. We don't want to get lost in this. And your second example is probably going to be the same thing. It's going to also have cause and effect attached to it. Does this make sense? Does this help you a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe.
There's always a naysayer.
Because I think I'm getting confused a little bit.
All right, so let's stop. So tell me where you're getting confused.
So we were talking about the organizational structure,
Right.
and in doing so, when we get into our example, you're saying that we should give 2 examples.
Well, no, wait. So stop. Examples.
Reading too much into it.
Yeah, examples is an organizational structure. So when you talk, you want to show that he uses examples in his writing. Will Batson is an example, and it's the organizational structure of example.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
Okay. He also uses cause and effect. So we can use Will Batson again, even though he's example, we also see the effects of internships on Will Batson. So you're using, the whole paragraph is still only about organizational structure. The organizational structure of, if we want to go back to that first, and I don't know how to do that one here. Oh, I do. I'm learning new things, but there it is. Just learn something new. So, bless you.
Thank you.
All right. So the whole paragraph really is, there it is. Your topic sentence is example and cause and effect. Everything that's followed is example and cause and effect. And we only have one, so you can bring in another. Because remember, this is a longer paper, so you know this will work out nicely. Sean, is that okay now? Does that clarify that?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
You're going to be planning it out. You'll be doing a rough draft as well, so don't get bogged down yet on details. Like I'll be able to look on your organizer to tell you, yeah, you're on the wrong track, and then I'll be able to see your rough draft and say that you're on the wrong track. So we have multiple chances of getting everything worked out.
Dr. Cook, I handed my my planner in yesterday because I thought that it was due, so it was before all this. Just keep that in mind.
Well, I can delete it.
Okay.
I can delete
Wait,
it.
so that wasn't due today?
No. I wrote you. I told you that.
Well, because the planner went so specifically with what you wanted, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And so I tried so hard to get that done last night. And
Yeah,
I was
me too. It was hard.
so
It was really
I
hard.
wrote,
Alicia, I got done at 11 o'clock last night. I was up till 2, 3 in the morning.
well,
It took me 5 hours. Yeah.
now
I didn't finish it.
now you can do the organizational structure part. Like that's done. Yeah, I told
I
you.
was going to talk to you after class.
You sent me an email and I wrote there, no, it's not due.
You said the rough draft wasn't due.
Oh. Well, remember in last class, I also said, wait a minute. So can I get rid of this whiteboard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. And let me go here, let me go here.
Oh, God.
This is asking me for a Zoom meeting. Hello?
Who's asking?
Hello?
No, I'm looking, my screen went and it's asking me to join a Zoom meeting.
Oh. So announcements.
I'm not the host.
Don't do anything.
I hit ignore.
Okay. So remember the power went out on me the other day, And so I lost, and as a result, I lost the recording. So I wrote up everything here for you. And I just basically said, so reread the article for Wednesday, identify the audience, identify the author's purpose, and identify the organizational structure. That was all that was due.
I thought, yeah.
Let me double check that the calendar is correct.
It's just because the planner went so well with that I'm like, all right, must want the planner done.
Ink.
Due today, nothing.
Sit down.
So that's your fault.
Adriana.
And I'm not saying it was your fault. I know it was my fault.
But you're up. I don't want you to, like, you worked all that hard, but it's not lost. Like, you've done it now, and now you can just make some changes where you have to make some changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hours.
So the actual planner is not going to be due until, what's today, Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Probably going to have that due on Monday. The planner will be due next Monday. The rough draft will be due on Wednesday. Yeah, that's about as far as I can push it back. I'll redo the calendar so that it is correct, and all the dates should be correct in D2L, but I'll make sure I will double check everything to make sure it all jives. Okay, so the planner is due next Monday. For those of you that don't know what the planner is, because you haven't, it's in week 8. Critical analysis essay planner. And it is somewhat more involved, but it's not an outline. So, you should be kind of happy about that.
I do like it. I do like it.
All right. So we basically covered part of this today in class. I've already given you like one example. All right. You can come up with maybe 1 or 2 more. You certainly don't need a whole lot. You don't have to fill out all of that. The last part of the section, you don't end with what we looked at, but the last part of the section is you have to evaluate it. Now, was that a good choice? So how do you decide that? Well, did using examples and cause and effect, was that good for his purpose? So he's trying to persuade, right? He uses some examples. He uses some cause and effect. It's all pretty negative. So do you think that was a good organizational structure for him? Yeah, it probably was. Yes. So Alicia's going.
Uncompromised.
I forgot I had it on mute.
Yeah. It's probably I was probably a good choice for him. All right. So the last sentence of that paragraph, if you're going to go back to that, once you have another example or 2 in there, the last sentence has to be something to the effect of the organizational structure was appropriate to both audience and purpose. I'll say it again because I don't want to, it takes too long for me to shift to the whiteboard. The organizational structure was effective because it was appropriate to both audience and purpose. The organizational structure was, I could probably do it on here too. Text.
Trying to spell Wawa?
Smart Alex.
Sometimes.
I've only had 1 cup of coffee. I got to cut down my coffee. I've been drinking too much, and my kidney stones are back.
Oh no.
And if you know what kidney stones feel like, it's not pleasant. So they just started. So I'm like, okay, I got to cut out the caffeine.
I don't know what they feel like, but I've witnessed my mom going through them, and my mom
It's not nice.
handle pain. So when I saw her go through that and how she felt, I was like, oh, that's something I never want in my life.
No, it's worse than, from what I understand, if you're a male, it's the closest feeling that a male can have to childbirth. Like, it's pretty painful. And men have a low tolerance to pain. So, it was appropriate to both audience. Very, very important sentence. Very, very important sentence. Because now, if we're talking about organizational structure, will we put a check in the effective column or a check in the ineffective column?
Effective.
Obviously effective, check. Okay, that's eventually going to become part of our thesis statement. But we got to look at all the stuff first before we can come up with the thesis statement. But right now, organizational structure, right on, it was good. So the other thing, we have just a little bit of time. Okay, if we hurry it up a little bit. You're going to do the same thing for evidence. What type of evidence does he use? Now, if you're not sure about types of evidence, go back to the text. They use facts and statistics, analogies, testimonials. Those are the types of evidence. So what type of evidence? You got to identify the type of evidence. Give an example of it. And then, page or paragraph number. All right. The one that's a little bit more complicated, and that's what I wanted to look at now or today, is the language piece. Oh. There we go. This is actually not as hard as one thinks. And I'm going to model it for you a little bit because, we're getting close to the end, so I don't want to run over. If we were to look at this first paragraph only. Augie, stop. Okay, let's see here. Draw.
We're looking at the language of the article, right?
Yes, so we're just going to look at language. So let's look at the first paragraph. Are there any words that kind of stand out a little bit? Now, in this text, there might be a lot of words you don't know.
Yeah.
And those actually might be important words, okay? But this is just look at a couple. So there's a couple words. If I were doing this, there's a couple words in this first paragraph that I would probably mention. You got the word explicit, skirt, and nebulous.
You said explicit, and what was the other word?
It's on, I highlighted it. Can you see the article?
Yes, I see it now.
Okay. All right. So those would be the ones. Now, if you don't know what they mean, and obviously we have complicit here too. So anytime you have words that are repeated, they got to be important words. Like, people repeat words because they're important. If we look in the second paragraph, We have things such as enablers, failing, miserly, calculus, and that's not the math. And then I'm going to do a different color because there's actually some that deal with the student. We have dejected. Where is that?
Further down that line.
Ladies. It is school time, and for every minute that you're late in school, you lose on your activity time. So that's up to you. Get your packets and get started. 10 to 12. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not that, see, I'm not that mean of an instructor. Okay. So let's just look at those words. Are there any that you really don't know?
Through the whole article, there's
No, these, just the ones I
oh
highlighted.
no. Okay.
All right, so let me ask you this. When you're looking at those words overall here,
Stop it.
implicit, skirt, nebulous, enabler, failing, miserly, would you say these are positive or negative types of words?
Negative.
These are definitely negative words. In other words, these words all bring a negative feeling.
A negative connotation to the article.
Very good. These are words with negative connotations. When you're talking about the language section, you want to choose specific words. These are some of them. There are plenty throughout the article. Okay? But you want to give some examples. Why are the words so negative?
That's a loaded question.
Ah, it's a loaded answer too.
Well, because his objective is to expose the unfairness of these foundations.
Absolutely correct. He wants to show how unfair this is. And so Amber she didn't make a pun on purpose, but I actually used it as a pun. These in a way are loaded language because he's bringing in negative words to try to persuade you. And up to this point, he hasn't given you any real evidence. There's no evidence here. These are his words, and he's trying to taint your opinion from the very beginning.
What's that? There's a word for that.
What?
You broke up.
There's a word for that we learned.
Well, these are negative connotation words, and these are examples of loaded language. I'm trying to think of what you're trying to think of.
What you just said.
I don't know the name of the word. Now, look, dejected and resigned, there's your examples of cause and effect. Right? Because if colleges are exploiting, if they're complicit, if they're enabling, students, on the other hand, and that's why I have it in two colors, so you might want to do that when you're going through the article. How do the students feel? That's the effect on the students, versus the causes are kind of these other words. All right. So one part of this is looking at organizational structure. The other part is really looking at the language. You want to go through and you want to find some good specific. This would not be enough. Don't just use these. I want to see things other than that because I gave you this. So there are plenty more in the whole text. you just take it paragraph by paragraph and highlight the words that kind of stand out for you. Sometimes there are none in the paragraph. Sometimes there's a couple. But overall, you'll see it's overall, they're kind of negative. And it goes back then to that last sentence of the section. His language choice was effective because it fit his purpose. He's trying to persuade, blah, 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 etc. So we have organizational structure, check, effective. Language, check, effective. There is a downside to this. There might be something that you could say, well, on the other hand, the language isn't good. What type of language is it? What's the name of the type of language that's used to convince people without giving evidence?
Loaded language?
That's the one that's the word I was asking for.
I said loaded language like 10 minutes ago. When you watch the video, you'll see I said loaded language. No, another word. Yeah, so it's a loaded language. So loaded language, it's not always good because remember, this is an opinion piece. So it's very what?
Bias?
Aha, very good. It is biased. It is quite biased. This is his opinion on this. He's going to show you one side to try to convince you. He's not showing you both sides. So while the language fits the purpose, here's where you can bring in bias because it is biased. He is quite biased in this article. Doesn't have to be a bad thing, but you need to recognize he's trying to make overall, and you talk about his worldview. How does he view life? How does he view how people should be treated?
Better.
Yeah, he believes people should be treated well and they shouldn't be taken advantage of. And who takes advantage of people in this article?
Colleges.
Colleges and universities and employers?
Yeah, and I would, in this case, it's big bad business. You know, this guy is not for capitalism in a way. You know, he's against big business and he's against businesses using people. Probably a Democrat. Because the Democrats would probably want more regulations. I don't know for sure, okay? Don't know for sure, but he's not painting a good picture of big business. And the kind of Democratic view and liberal view is that big businesses are not good, so we should, tax the businesses. The Republican view is more of, let's give the businesses a tax break. Let's make the regulations gone so that they can do whatever they want. All right. So it is a philosophical as well.
But if the intended audience primarily was colleges, universities, then shouldn't they be included in his worldview as opposed to just big bad businesses, so to speak?
Well, his worldview is more in terms of how people should be treated. Now,
Okay.
yeah, he is critical of colleges and universities, but really, the colleges and universities can't do this if they don't have the businesses, right?
True.
And it's more of, well, hey, have you got any students that would like to have an internship with us and work for us? you have a gala coming up here, so we can donate a little bit of money to the gala. How about that? So there is a bit of, possibly quid pro quo. You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. You give us interns, and we'll do something nice for the college. We'll support you.
There's
Good.
an example of that in the paper.
And it's perfectly legal. Like, that's perfectly legal to do.
That's wrong.
It's not like a political campaign where you have to like show it. Businesses can donate as much money as they want to colleges and universities, and colleges will take it. That's kind of a nice thing. And ultimately the businesses are making out because they're getting free labor. And no benefits. They don't have to pay benefits. They're not protected under labor law. They're not protected under discrimination laws. It's purely to the advantage of the business and the college, not to the student.
And it's not supposed to be.
Well, in an ideal world, we would want it to be. In his ideal world, he wants it to be.
I was just stating that the employer must derive no immediate advantage from the student's work, or both sides must agree that the student is not entitled to wages. Just a part of the article.
Right. So you want a job, you want a job maybe in the future with us. So you're going to do this intern here, sign this paper saying you agree 100% that you're not going to get paid. What are you going to do? You're going to sign it, right? You've just signed your rights away, but it's like you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And you shouldn't be put in that position, and that's kind of what he's kind of alluding to.
Yeah, no, you should.
All right, so you do want to then look at that planner, and we'll go back to that. So these two sections are good evidence. You want to talk about the evidence, and then there's some other questions that you can build in to the essay itself. There's the language. We're talking about the tone. We've already kind of hit on the tone a little bit. Author credibility. You're going to have to do possibly your research if you're going to use an outside source for this, and you have to let me know what your outside source is. So yes, it does take a little bit of time, but this has everything in it that you would put in your essay. And then how you organize it is up to you.
So you said we have to submit the source for author credibility?
Yeah, so it was actually under there. So let me move this because we're in week 9. So move to week 9.
That source for approval.
Did you get mine yesterday, Dr. Cook?
Let me see.
Because I sent it to you on the link like that you just moved, and then I sent it to you in the email, in your email. Because when I sent it, it took away the hanging indent. It took away the everything makes it.
Yeah, there's yours. I got yours.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the hanging indent or anything here. I just wanted to see what your source was. And then I also got Magicos, yeah. So I did have 2. So I just moved it to week 9, so it's easier for you to find. Or you simply go to, as most people do, they go to the assignments and they look for it. Okay.
I didn't know we were supposed to submit the that.
Yeah, I do want to see whatever supplemental source you use. I would like to see it and approve it.
Okay, I'm sorry, where is that at? It's under activities?
So no, I just put
Assignments?
it in week 9. So we're in week 9, so I put it under week 9 submissions. Supplemental source.
Okay.
Quiz.
And the rough draft, I'm moving.
So if we have not, you need text and the information on the author credibility to approve before we start our paper.
Yeah, so I didn't hear the first part, but I definitely want to see whatever supplemental source you use. I want to approve that. Yes.
Right. I said if we have not done so, we need that. And when do you need? And when do you need it by?
Probably no later than Monday, because you're going to have to do the planner, and the planner's going to probably have information about it in there. So
Okay.
as soon as you can, this week would be good.
Okay. Can I get 10 minutes before I become teacher/mom? Just 10. I'm a student.
Any
I'm
any questions? And so you're really just working on the planner for Monday. And if you haven't told me your supplemental source, let me see your supplemental source. Most people are going to have the same thing, I know. So that's fine. So now you have a little idea of how you can go back and look at the language piece, and then you'll do the same thing for the evidence. Go to the text, find where's a piece of evidence, and how to work through that. I'll be able to tell when you turn in your planners if you're understanding this.
You said you'll be out of town?
No.
Oh, I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, I'm going out of town till June, so you can't reach me.
That'd be why.
All right. Any questions?
Woo.
That's not a question. That's a sigh.
I don't know. I found the last paper to be somewhat difficult, so I'm just already in my mind.
Oh, because it's Sharonda. You can't ever find anything easy.
Okay, so besides this last paper, is that it for the class?
That's it. Oh, you have a quiz.
No, wait, you just said that's it.
Have a quiz. Yeah, quiz on chapters 5, 6, and 7. Yeah.
Okay, so we have this paper and the quiz. Everything it deals with this paper and a quiz.
Yes,
And
that's it.
Is the quiz open?
Well, we're not done. We haven't talked about chapter 7 yet, so you do not want to take the quiz yet.
I say, yeah, I'm not good. I'm working on the paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? If you have questions, just shoot me an email. Come to the open office hours. I will help you however I can. Then, if that's all I got for today. I will post the video in about an hour because it takes about an hour to convert. Hopefully, I didn't lose power, so hopefully there should be a recording today. And I will update the calendar and upload the new calendar with the new dates.
Alrighty.
Alrighty?
All right. Thank you.
And have a great week.
You too.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Can I ask you a quick question?
That's why I always, let me stop the recording.